Welcome back to another action-packed, super exciting Flash ActionScript 3.0 video tutorial. Go ahead and create a new ActionScript 3.0 document. And in the last video, we went over variables and integers, variables and the type integer. And this video is going to cover the variable type number. So I'm going to click on Layer 1, Frame 1. Tap F9 to bring up my actions window. And just to go over what I did before, I'm going to put a comment saying integers are whole numbers only. And I'll make a new variable using my var keyword. Give it a name, so I'm going to call it myInt. And then a colon and tell it what type. So type int for integer. Semicolon to end the line. And then we have the value, the variable type called number, and numbers can hold decimal values. So let's go ahead and type that out. Numbers can hold decimal values. Let's go ahead and create one. The way we do that is our var keyword, give it a name. So I'm going to say my number, put a colon, and then go ahead and tell it its type number. And you remember, you have to spell this just how it is. So if you put a lowercase n, that's not going to work. So you end it with a semicolon, and there we go. So we now have an integer called myInt and a number called myNumber. And let's assign them a value. So just to prove my point, I'm going to say myInt equals 0.5, 0.5, and with a semicolon. And I'm going to say myNumber equals 0.5. And with a semicolon. We're going to trace these values out. So I'm going to go ahead and trace integer, if I can spell, and then just tack on the value of our myInt variable. And then we can do the same with my number. So I'll change this to number and then say my number. I'm going to press Control S to save. And I'm going to go ahead and save this as numbers video for now. So save. I already had one that existed, but don't worry about it. You won't, hopefully. And now that I have this, I'm going to go ahead and press Control Enter to run my program. And now you can see my integer drops the decimal while my number keeps the decimal. Cool. I wasn't lying to you, right? Yay! Let's go ahead and create some more variables. Let's create two more numbers. So let's say create two more numbers. And I'm just going to name these A and B. So variable A, give it a type of number, end with a semicolon. And then for the next one, I'll call it B. So variable A and variable B, both of type number. So now that we have our two variables, let's do some more complicated math type stuff, right? Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and make three. Let's create A, B, and C. Let's give A value of, what are we feeling today? Let's say 5. We'll give B a value of 3, right? So now A will be 5, B will be 3. And what about C? Let's make C actually equal to one of our values. Let's say C just equals A. And just like with our trace statement, when we put a variable somewhere, it's going to replace that variable with a value. So the way we have it now, it's going to set A to 5, set B to 3, and let's set C equal to A, which is 5. So C will also be 5. And let's go ahead and write some trace statements. So I'm going to trace out A, and then our variable A. And I'm going to just copy and paste this just because it's easier. So A, B, C, and then A, B, C. Remember that variables are case sensitive. So if I make this variable a capital A, this is not going to work. So these don't matter because they're strings and they're just text we're writing for description. Remember that variable names are case sensitive. So I'm going to go ahead and save my program, press Control Enter to run. And now you can see My integer is 0, just like before. My number is 0.5, just like before. A is 5, B is 5, and C is 5. But what if we still weren't done with that yet, right? What if we wanted to change C afterwards? So let's just say C plus equals, well, let's go ahead and say B. And remember that plus equals is the same as doing C equals C plus B. So these two are the same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and use, I'm going to comment that out by just putting 2 forward slashes in front of it. Remember that these two are the same thing, and I just like using this one because it's quicker to write. So whatever your preference is. And now I'm going to go ahead and press Control Enter to run my program. And now you see that C is 8. Well, what we did was we set it equal to A, which is 5, and then we added B, which is 3, and that equals 8. Notice though how A is still 5. So even though we set C equal to A, all we're doing is copying the value. It's not actually making them the same variable or anything like that. So just keep that in mind when you're doing all this type of stuff. But now let's do something else, right? Let's go back down or add to some new lines, and let's do some complicated math, right? I'm gonna say C equals let's say 1 plus 2 times 3 divided by 4. Pretty complicated, right? Well, what's going on? How is Flash going to interpret this? Well, Flash uses basic order of operations. So if you ever heard of PEMDAS, or otherwise known as Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, which is parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. That is the order that it's going to go in. So it's going to get to this line of code, and before it assigns any value to C, it's going to figure out what this value is. So it's going to do multiplication first, or from left to right. It's going to get 2 times 3. So it's going to hit this multiplication and say 2 times 3 is 6. We're going to divide by 4, which is 1.5. And then it's going to add the number 1. And I'm going to go ahead and save my program before I run it, and run it now. And now you can see that C is 2.5, just like I said. But what if we didn't want to do everything in that order, right? What if we wanted to do 1 plus 2 first, instead of doing multiplication and division, or whatever kind of order you want? The way we do that is we surround it in parentheses. So if I get C equals, let's see, parentheses 1 plus 2, close parentheses. And anytime you open a pair of parentheses, you have to close it. So you need to have one that opens, one that closes, just like with all of our trace statements. So I have 1 plus 2. So now the way this is going to work, it's going to do whatever's in the parentheses first. So it's going to go and do 1 plus 2 is 3. So it's going to take 3 times 3, which is 9. Do 9 divided by 4, which is 2.25. I'm going to save and run my program. And bam, C is 2.25. So there you have it. You can do a bunch of other stuff like this. You can put the parentheses wherever you want. You can put more parentheses inside of that parenthesis. Like whatever you want to do, you can do it. So in our last video, we went over integers and declaring them. This one we went over numbers. So var, name your variable, give it put a colon, give it a type, and then end with a semicolon. That's our number. Numbers just hold decimal values. So you can assign values. You can assign one variable to the value of another variable. You can add on the value of another variable, and you can do complicated math by using parentheses. And that's about it for this video. Go ahead and play around with the order of operations. Make sure you kind of understand what's going on. You can keep it real simple with, like, 1 times 2. I don't know. If you're not good with math, don't worry about it. Just make sure you understand how these work, and that how you can get them to work how you actually want them to work. So thanks for watching.